Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking an absolutely fascinating transformation in the tech world. We're going to look under the hood of Reddit and trace exactly how a scrappy collection of internet forums morphed into this absolute powerhouse in digital advertising and, crucially, artificial intelligence. Whether you're just a casual scroller or you're an investor eyeing the markets, you really need to understand the mechanics of this business.
Look at this number, 25 billion. That is the number of posts and comments currently sitting in Reddit's archive. And it's not just some static database. No, this is 2 decades of authentic, unfiltered human conversation. In a world where the internet is frankly flooding with synthetic, AI-generated fluff, this massive archive of real human thought is literally becoming one of the most valuable assets on the planet.
So, let's dive right in. Here's our roadmap. We've got 4 parts today. First, the digital city. Second, the advertising advantage. Third, the AI data goldmine. And finally, financials and future growth.
Starting off with part 1, the digital city, building the front page.
To really get Reddit's business model, you have to look at its history. This timeline proves they are completely battle-tested. Founded way back in 2005, they spent years just quietly gathering communities. They spun out in 2011, but get this, they didn't even launch a mobile app until 2016. And those serious, meaningful investments in ad tech, those only really kicked off around 2018. So for nearly 20 years, Reddit was almost exclusively focused on building this incredibly durable foundation of user trust before they ever really tried to heavily monetize it.
In those strategic milestones, they cultivated a massive ecosystem. By taking their time, Reddit allowed over 100,000 active communities, subreddits, to just organically flourish. From parenting tips to solo travel, it's all policed by volunteer moderators and driven by an upvote system that naturally surfaces the best human ideas. It's totally people-powered curation.
Which creates this really unique value ecosystem. For the users, it's all about anonymity and authentic chats. But think about how beautifully that translates for advertisers. Because users are completely anonymous, they aren't performing for an audience like on other social apps, right? They're totally honest and vulnerable about their specific interests. So for an advertiser, this is a dream. It's a high-context, privacy-focused environment. You don't even need invasive third-party tracking, when the users are quite literally organizing themselves into hyper-specific interest groups.
And that utility brings people back constantly. In Q4 of 2023, Reddit averaged 121.4 million daily active uniques. Just wrap your head around that scale. Over 120 million people showing up every single day, explicitly searching for trusted human perspectives that you just cannot get from an algorithmic feed or a standard Google search.
All right, part 2, the advertising advantage. Context meets intent.
Standard digital ads rely heavily on demographics and third-party cookies, tracking you all over the web. It's getting harder to do, and honestly, people hate it. Reddit flips the script entirely. Their ads are high intent and contextual. If I'm deep down a rabbit hole researching a new tent in the camping subreddit, an ad for outdoor gear isn't an annoying interruption. It's actually highly relevant context. You're catching the consumer right when their brain is primed for discovery.
And the sheer volume of that intent is crazy. Roughly 40% of the conversations happening on Reddit are commercial in nature. People are actively talking about products, services, and what to buy. They're asking, what's the best stroller for twins? Or which TV should I get? You capture users right at the point of decision. That is the absolute holy grail for any marketer. Which leads to this wild stat. 84% of shoppers say they feel more confident in their decisions after researching on Reddit. In a world completely saturated with sponsored influencers and polished brand messaging, authentic human recommendations are what actually drive purchasing confidence. For brands, that means highly measurable, highly efficient ROI on the platform.
Moving to part 3, the AI data goldmine, the new oil. Now, the ad business is great, but here is the absolute crucial point, summed up perfectly by CEO Steve Huffman. He calls Reddit's conversations the oil for the modern internet. Why? Because these frontier large language models, and frankly, the future of robotics, they don't just invent knowledge out of thin air, they have to learn it from us. To do complex reasoning, to do reinforcement learning from human feedback, which is basically teaching AI how to behave like a human, they desperately need massive volumes of real-world, subjective human dialogue.
And Reddit is leaning into this hard. They are currently the #1 cited source in AI answers. They've inked these massive,
data licensing deals with heavyweights like Google and OpenAI, which analysts think pull in around $66 to $70 million a year. Now, a big question you might have is, as we move into a world with way more AI tokens, agentic AI, and robots, why wouldn't these frontier model companies just buy Reddit outright to get the data? Well, it's because an AI model can't just buy a static database from last year and stay smart. To remain cutting edge, they need the ongoing, continuous flow of 120 million humans reacting to the world in real time. That live pulse is Reddit's ultimate note. So they license it out, all while using that very same AI internally to make their own search and user feeds incredibly sticky.
But look, when you're sitting on a gold mine, you've got to defend it. Reddit knows exactly how valuable this data is. They are actively fighting back, like with their lawsuit against the AI search engine Perplexity over unauthorized scraping. They are drawing a massive line in the sand. If you want to use the internet's premier archive of human thought to train your models, you have to pay the toll. It's exactly how they're protecting their total addressable market in the AI space.
Which brings us to our final section, Part 4, Financials and Future Growth, the Path to Scale.
We've talked about the structural edge, but the financial momentum here is just explosive. We're looking at 68% year-over-year revenue growth reported in recent quarters. Management actually bumped up their long-term EBITDA margin target to a highly profitable 50%. But here's the most exciting bullet point for long-term growth: their runway. Reddit's US ad revenue per user is currently sitting anywhere from 39 to 74% below peers like Pinterest and Snapchat. Think about what that actually means. Even if they didn't add a single new user, just by tightening up their ad tech and closing that monetization gap, they have massive, compounding revenue growth baked right into their future.
And this Morgan Stanley equity research brilliantly illustrates that potential scale. In their base case scenario, they're projecting an average EBITDA for 2026 and 2027 of over $1.7 billion. Even the bear case is highly profitable. As Reddit keeps rolling out these AI-driven ad tools and locking down more of those lucrative data licensing deals, these cash flows are projected to scale dramatically.
Because of this dual-engine setup, this massive runway and high-margin advertising, paired with incredibly valuable AI data licensing, Morgan Stanley set a base case price target of $250. It really cements the argument that Reddit's unique assets, the deep tech stack, those highly engaged communities, and that completely irreplaceable human data flow make it a remarkably compelling long-term stock story. I'm going to leave you with this final, somewhat provocative thought. As the internet gets more and more flooded with synthetic tokens, and as AI agents and robots start actually executing commerce on our behalf, how valuable is authentic human connection going to be? Reddit has proven that human data isn't some relic of the past. It is for sure the ultimate premium asset of the future. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, stay curious, and I'll catch you on the next one.